I'm the first one to do that. I bet you never knew that. Back like a tailbone. Who you got the tail on? If it ain't about me, about whole D, about face. If you ain't on higher, learn it. The soda in the pot and the fire, burn it.
Whew, back on track. Back on track. Back on track. I have to take off that Dead Space outfit. Whew. Oh man. Back to reality. Yeah. Okay. LongFallenDynasty is a historical RPG game, role-playing game that has been developed by Team Ninja. I don't think I've ever reviewed a Team Ninja game, and it has been published by Koei Tecmo. The game follows a nameless malicious soldier, Fireheart Mafia. I know they're beginning to have these protagonists in games now with no name, no perceptive motive that gives us the name of these characters. So that's my character's name. Fireheart Mafia. Go back to the headline, please. Let's get a little awkward. Fighting for samurai in the dark fantasy version of the later Han Dynasty, where demons plague the three kingdoms. You battle historical characters and Chinese mythological creatures corrupted by demonic ghee. Honestly, I'm a balanced Soul fan. I haven't played all the Souls games, but ever since I was introduced to Nioh and Nioh 2, I have fell in love with the Soul games, and I've been trying to catch up on some Souls games that I've missed out playing on its release. And when LongFallenDynasty came out, there's been a lot of mixed reviews, some complaints, and certain things that people have criticized about this game that has been lacking the potential that Nioh and Nioh 2 has given us. Now I've been playing this game, and I have to agree to the most part, because this game has some improvements, but at the same time it has a lot of holes on it, to the point where the Titanic should have been sunk, and that's not a good thing for me to ignore. The plot of the game is not as bad. It's not as bad as people are literally, predicting it to be, or just telling other people that it is. But I'm gonna have to say, man, compared to Nioh and Nioh 2's plot, this might have to be one of the most lackluster plots I have ever came across into a Souls game. And I'm trying to defend this game, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. They might be right on that level. And just like the Souls games, they like to pull you in with the combat and introduce you to new characters so you can be more familiar with the moveset and what enemies will throw at you into the later game progression. Now, each of these Souls games have their own skill for you to master. That's the main art of these Souls games. Each of these Souls games have that same concept. You die, you lose progression, and you gain that progression back by you killing off a certain enemy that has killed you or has owned you. But the creativity is how you product yourself onto these combat game maneuvers. Like Nioh. Nioh is a fast-pacing action game that has samurai shonen art style maneuvers to it when it comes to you inflicting skill in combat, and above all, knowing your enemy's predictions in a fast-pacing manner. It's not about slow and you seeing what the enemy can do. It's all about you thinking and knowing your moveset quickly than how the enemy can conduct itself. On Nioh 2, we had that here, but at the same time they want to focus more on parrying and counterattacks. Just in case if newcomers had a problem of how skillful the first Nioh game is. Even the platinum on Nioh, the first one was even harder than the second one. So the second one, they want to take a step back of the difficulty setting and give newcomers and crybabies a chance. And I did not have a problem with that at all, because it was still kind of challenging in my opinion. Now we got LongFallenDynasty, and this game is parrying and parrying only. No skill. This game has no skill. You can literally max out your character stats overnight if you decide to play this 24 hours straight. And the reason I'm saying that is because it doesn't matter what build you use. It doesn't matter what class you use. It doesn't even matter what weapon you use or what upgrade material you use or how many times you beat the game and got the best armor and move sets. The game's major focus is you parrying and you knowing your enemy's predictions right when you parry, so you can use a super move to, to inflict as much damage as possible. And I don't have a problem with that, but at the same time, it is lacking the creativity of what made us a Soul fan in the first place. Even the bosses is lackluster when it comes to the creativity of the style of combat, man. Each of these bosses have their own ways of how they can conduct and inflict damage upon you, of course, when it comes to elemental abilities. But that also comes with the weaknesses that you can inflict on them as well. But the main weakness won't inflict until you counter them, so they can be more, be more stumble. But it depends on how well and how much you've upgraded your character. But other than that, if you know the enemy's predictions well enough, you can take them down pretty easily. Especially if you know their move sets. But, and I know people may disagree with that, especially newcomers to the Soul series. But don't worry, I'm on your side, because there is one enemy on here that doesn't really have no type of elemental weakness, and that is Lubu. Now, when it comes to these Soul games, they always have an Easter egg enemy for you to fight. The first Nioh, we had fucking Ryu Hayabusa, and he was a bitch. The second Nioh, we had William, that was the main character, protagonist on the first one, and he was a little fucking asshole. Now on this one, we have Lubu, that is based on the Dynasty Warrior franchise. LongFallenDynasty, how about that, right? And he was no joke. He was hard. But I feel like after you come across him, all the enemies feel like fucking pancakes. And Lubu is like scrambled eggs with eggshells inside of it. He was a bitch. He was hard, man. My main focus though was the loot of the game. I like to play games like this, and I like to defeat enemies, especially the harder ones on New Game Plus. The more harder the enemies, the better loot you get. It's common sense, right? It's not that simple on this one. On this one, you get the same shit. Aww. Different types of classes, though, they don't go by numbers. They go by stars. If you get the 5-star or above that, then you're doing great. You're fantastic. But I feel like they could have fleshed out the loot more by giving us more types of weapons, more types of gear, especially the visualities of the gear and what it can do for you, especially if you want to build up a certain class of elemental abilities such as water, wood, and all the other good stuff. We probably might have to wait for the DLC version to come out, but fuck that, I'm judging the game for what they gave us now. Speaking of building classes, it's not really as hard as the other ones. This one is actually pretty simple. Actually holding your hand in type of way. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you want to switch up your class and you're tired of using one class because there's an enemy that is not weakness to the class that you used, you can literally reset all your stats. Unlike Nioh, there's no penalization on that. It doesn't cost you to reset your stats. You just go to an old motherfucker in some village or some shit, and he'll just reset your stats for you. Just like that, if you want to change a moveset, or if you don't have time to increase all your stats all at once and take down the enemies that way. But the build class is a little cringeworthy to me, because if you want to max out all your stats, how are you going to use all your stats in that move slot that requires you to use your skills? So you might have to reset everything. It's something to think about, and I understand that the developers are trying something different, but they should have waited a little longer before the game releases, to see if this is something that they should have rolled with instead of giving this to us in this state. Now let's talk about something I like about the game. The character creation. The character creation is just as well polished as the second Nioh game. I did feel like it was lacking some types of featurettes that the Nioh 2 had. Nioh 2 went all out on that one. But on this one, it felt like there was missing certain small nitpicks on this one. Not to sound like I'm really trying to nitpick the game. I've already gave it a lot of shit that I did already. But what I really do love a lot is the fact they improved the online feature on here for you to play with your friends. It's very stable. very, very straightforward to the point where you pop in the game, you go to an online session, you invite your friends, they join. It's that simple, and it should have stayed that simple. I understand that Nio and Nio 2 want to go more of a creative method by you being in a dojo and they sit there with you, and the way for that to happen is if you have a password or they have to know your password. But they put a simplified gesture on this one, just saying, hey, look, like, you make a group with your friends, you invite them, and bam, they should be there with you. But I do kind of wish they had the dojo there so we can sit with each other instead of just standing still like this, waiting for the mission to start. I mean, they look aggressive, man. Especially with my squad. Well, I can't say my squad, it's our squad that me, my best friend Wood, my buddy Matt has made, called Matt's Angels, which he is the main villain. I mean, not main villain, he is the main leader of the group. Overall, the game is okay, even though it's a step back from the Nio franchise. If you have played Nio and played Nio 2, and if you're wanting to play this one, I would have to probably give it a hard pass on that. But this is actually a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword of us being hurt because we have been through way better shit than this. But if you are a newcomer to the Nio franchise, and if you want to see how Nio is, then you should definitely play this one, because I would recommend you play this one before you play all the other ones, just so you can know what Nio is going to throw at you. I'm going to have to give Wulong a C-. Game is good, the game is fun, but that doesn't take away from the issues that I mentioned. It's only fun when you play with friends. You play by yourself, it can easily be repetitive, especially the lack of loot that you get. But playing with friends is pretty fun. The enemies on here are very fucking stupid. If you upgrade your character to a certain degree, to the point where they can't detect you at all, you can literally just one-shot them if you have to be your friends with them. I was trying to beat the bell this time. Let me see. Oh yeah, I'm over 10 minutes. Yeah, I fucked up. That's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more reviews and videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher, and you guys have a good day.